On Earth 6160, for quite some time, there's been a number of people who have known that something's not right. And they've known this long before Tony established the Ultimates network. And they're ready to do something about it. So with that said, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to drop a like or a hype. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so going into this, we're introduced to this girl by the name of Ren, whose parents are giving her a hard time since she's barely been going to school. And at first, this comes off like she's your average rebellious kid who hates school, with her telling her parents to calm down because there are things more important than school, when really she's one of the few who's known for a while that something's not right. And there's a moment here where Ren is like, bump school or whatever, as she thinks back to her earliest memory of when she realized something was wrong. As she says here, the only teacher who ever taught me anything worth knowing was Miss Walters. She taught 6th grade civics and had a thing for free thought, because Ren remembers how the textbooks back then spoke of how this new system of their society had risen from the ruins of an unworkable democracy, which became this perfect, intricate machine that could only be run by super geniuses. But Miss Walters, she didn't follow the books. She taught them about elections, the Magna Carta, the universal rights of man, and how both the old system and the new system are flawed, which only led to a couple of hand agents running up in that classroom and snatching her out, which made for a memory that Ren and her best friend Mia would never forget. And she remembers when she told her parents what happened, and her dad said, "Don't breathe a word of this to anyone, not one word." So looking back, she says, "And I didn't. I was afraid they'd come for me too, and I didn't breathe a word." But Mia had seen it herself, so I had someone to not talk about it with. Mia was my best friend since forever. We shared everything: toys, clothes, nightmares. As babies, we took baths together. When we were 14, I got boobs, and Mia grew gills under her armpits. She was scared and confused. I didn't know what to say. I didn't breathe a word, but someone must have, because one morning when I went to her house on the way to school, her parents told me she died suddenly in her sleep, and they just told her Mia died of some sort of disease. But when Ren asked what kind of disease it was, Mia's dad was like, "It was genetic." And Ren says, "I knew they were lying. I didn't breathe a word. She was my best friend, but I didn't breathe a word. I held my breath waiting for them to come. The men in black and white. I held my breath for a long time. Until one day, I saw something that finally forced the air from my lungs." Which for Ren, this is when she first saw a giant man's huge footprint on the news from all the way back in Ultimates issue 1, to where after that she read everything about the Ultimates that she could find. But because all the public information, the media, and the news were all very misleading and intentionally trying to make the Ultimates seem like the bad guys, this only pushed Ren to want to go out there, ask questions, and get the truth so she could decide for herself. So she then started from the front doorstep, talking to the delivery man, asking about the power outage that was caused when Midas was defeated, and asking questions like, hey, why would they take the blame for that and not the Stark incident? And she asked more questions to her neighbors and to a homeless guy at one point. So this of course spooked her parents to the point where they didn't even want her to say the word Ultimates in their house. So again, she didn't breathe a word, at least not around her parents anymore. Because outside of the house, Ren kept searching for answers, which led to her finding this group who had been together since the start of the North American Union, so long before Tony created the Altnet. And this group, who was small at this time and many of them much older than Ren, this group would come together and have these meetings, which was pretty much all that they did for the past 60 years. So when Ren found them, she would just keep showing up. And as the weeks would pass and the Ultimates became more active, the number of people who came grew, with these people being younger, angrier, and eager to actually do something about what's going on. And a lot of these younger people had stories just like Ren's, which then put a battery in the old people's back, which now caused everyone in this group to be inspired by the Ultimates. And not too long after this, they became Ultimates. But at this time, this was before Tony created the Altnet. But instead, this is about where we were back in issue 7, when at the time, just after Tony's death, we saw all the Ultimates basically go their own way and do their own thing. Where in the case of America Chavez, she's the one who really started inviting the general public to actually become members of the Ultimates. With her going around helping who she could find, she spoke to different people and listened to what they had to say, and she spread the message of how it's everyone's responsibility to make this world better. And basically that's where we've landed at here. But what's different in this case is the fact that we know now that there was a group of people already primed for this, who knew something wasn't right for a long time. They knew the Ultimates weren't their enemy, and they came together, but they just didn't know what to do next. And even now, they still really didn't know. But the one thing they did have was purpose. So to act on it, they started small, doing things like vandalism and simple sabotage, doing things like taking over the intercom at the mall and playing what used to be the United States national anthem, which I imagine plenty of people at the mall have never heard since the United States of America in this world has been gone for 60 years. And just after this, Ren says, but a few months ago, it was like everything sped up, because now we've crossed over to where Tony had returned from the dead. But she goes on to say here, the altnet gave us access to information, resources, and each other. We could coordinate with anyone in the movement all over the world, including superpowered members. Once I was part of a group that set up the diversion, while Hawkeye assassinated a high-ranking Roxxon executive passing through town. Another time, I'm pretty sure I hid Captain America in my basement for a few hours, till the heat died down, though he denied it. And right here, she's like, come on, you are him, you gotta be. And he's just like, I don't know what you mean, miss. My name's Brett Hendrick. I fix washing machines. And now Brett Hendrick, that's a name Captain America used in Civil War when he was trying to lay low. So it's nice to see that Easter egg here. But in this universe, Steve, he doesn't have the mustache or the buzz cut. And it's like, man, Brett Hendricks, he looks more like someone who trusts J. Jonah Jameson's barber. And she goes on saying, and we had our own initiatives. Our big swing was blowing up a government building. Planned it for a month. It was mostly symbolic. No fatalities. We gave them a 30-minute warning to evacuate. Made the news for weeks. My parents didn't know exactly what was going on, but they could see the changes. And that's where we see her dad just yelling at her. He don't know what's going on, but he's like, you have to stop. Whatever it is you're doing, you have to stop right now. And for Ren at this time, which is much closer to the present, you can see the transformation in her appearance from the look of an average kid to one that's a bit more rebellious, which makes a lot of sense here because she's no longer believing the lie. And she's aligned herself with others who are doing something about it, while only harming those who are intentionally a part of the problem. And some of these things are extreme, but in Ren's mind, she's gone too far to turn back. And to be clear, it's not like at any point she really expressed all of these things to her parents, but instead it was more of a really dry, don't worry about what I'm doing type of response. But her parents knew she was involved in some way. But regardless, with them trying to tell her to stop, it's just going in one ear and out the other. But when her mom tells her that, we're trying to protect you, and how they don't want Ren to end up like, and Ren says it right there, like Mia, like Miss Walters, and that's where things got real uncomfortable because they haven't said either of those names in years. And at that time, Ren's mom just told her, yes, like them. Now please stop before it's too late, which from here takes us back to the present day, when Ren's family gets a couple of visitors on their doorstep. And at first, Ren tries to tell her dad not to answer it. And she admits to herself at this point, for the first time, since Miss Walters, Ren had stopped waiting for the men with the blurry faces to come for her. And she admits that was her biggest mistake. Because now a couple of hand agents have just come kick down the door and they've come here for her. And her dad, dude, is just bodied seconds after these agents arrive. Only for her mom to tell Ren to run just before her mom's gets it. And as you can imagine, this kid's head is just spinning right now. Because now she's like, I should have been waiting for them. I should have been expecting this. I should have been afraid. And now these hand agents, one of them's like, another kid. I'm tired of shooting kids. And the other one's like, me too. So the first one says, how about slicing them in half? And the second one's like, old school. I like it. And they start chasing her down. And it's like, man, for a second, I thought these dudes were about to have a change of heart. But they was like, nope, double down. And they chase right after Ren, who's trying to get help from the altnet while she's running. But all we see is her cry for help land on deaf ears because a number of members of the altnet have already been killed. But as she's saying things like, I need help now. Hello, is anybody there? One of the hand agents just pops up in front of her. And he's like, no, they aren't. They resisted just like you resisted. And that's when Ren hears her neighbors call her name. And this older couple, all they're doing is trying to see if she's okay. And this is where the hand agent starts going for them. And that's when Ren's like, no, they're just our neighbors. I won't resist. No one else has to. And that's when the lady next door just pops this dude with a headshot. Cause she don't play about the ultimates. But as it turns out, the neighbors got Ren's message. So the lady gives Ren her gun. She tells her to take it and follow the route on her phone. And as soon as Ren leaves, the other agent approaches. So the neighbors make up a story saying that Ren shot the agent and she ran the other way because they're trying to help by throwing this guy off. But unfortunately, this doesn't work too well because the agent didn't believe she went the other way. And he quickly catches up to Ren. So when she sees him, she starts busting. And this dude parries every bullet just before cutting off her hand. Then he tells her, man, the evidence factory will be working overtime to attribute all these deaths to you and your terrorist cell. I gotta admit, I can't imagine how a little girl like you killed one of us, but we'll find out. And then he starts reading her rights here, saying, You are under arrest. You have the right to months of physical and psychological torture. Anything you say or think can and will be used to hunt down and kill others like you. You have the right to weep and beg." And then this is where the homeless guy just behind him picks up the gun and he shoots the agent in the back just before telling Ren to keep going and get to the rendezvous point. And as she goes, it's here where we see that one shot to the back wasn't enough to kill this hand agent. But as the AltNet app leads Ren to the delivery guy who's been bringing packages to her home for years, it's around this time when we see all the people who Ren had asked those questions when she was younger about things that tied to previous Ultimate issues and Ultimate Spider-Man. It's here where we see that these are all the same people who are helping her now. And it's kind of easy to overlook with how the story just skips over time. But even still, I think it's important to point out how not only were there people trying to help each other before the AltNet, but also when Tony created the AltNet, it created a way for your everyday person to become a hero in some way, just by having so many civilians connected. And in some cases, it cost people their lives, getting out here and being active. But it's also saving lives too. And not only by connecting people to superheroes, which is really more of a benefit to the Ultimates, if you ask me. But aside from connecting the people to the superheroes, which is what we've seen in a lot of the other issues, the fact that the people who know what's going on can connect to each other, this allows them to also be heroes and save each other or anyone else who can't help themselves. Like in this moment with the delivery guy, Jeremiah. But at this time, with Ren getting in the back and hiding herself under a pile of late packages, the hand agent stops the truck and he asks the driver, "Jeremiah, have you seen a young girl running this way? She'd be wounded, missing a hand." And Jeremiah's like, no, I think I'd have noticed that." And the agent just ends up letting him go, which is a nice break that Ren needed just now. But with this truck being the destination she had on her app, she asked Jeremiah where they're going. So he tells her, "First, we're going to get that hand fixed up. Then we'll get you far away from here. We've got a safe house ready. They'll get you a new identity, but hand has your name, your face. You'll have to go underground." And now Ren, she doesn't know how any of this is even gonna work. So she starts to ask Jeremiah how, but then he goes on to tell her, "There's more to the movement than you can imagine. It's much bigger than you think. Don't worry, Ren. You're safe now. We're going to fix the world. You'll see." And fix the world are the famous words of Tony Stark. But yeah, seeing this now leads us into more of the solutions that the Ultimates have been working on, of which we'll be talking about soon. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like or a hype. And let me know if you think Tony's creation of the Alt Network made things better or worse. Because I could see it going both ways, but let me know what you think. Like if you had to choose one or the other. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.